The FBI is investigating the killing of 2 children during a school mass as an act of domestic terrorism and a hate crime targeting Roman Catholics. A 10-year-old and an 8-year-old were killed and 17 people injured when the attacker opened fire during morning mass at the Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis. The shooter died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound at the scene and had no significant criminal history, according to authorities. Our correspondent Tom Bateman reports.
Parents grip their children, America's latest survivors of a mass shooting. The Annunciation Church service here on the Catholic school grounds was meant to welcome in the new term, but the worst possible news reached these families within minutes. The mass was just getting underway as the shooting began. Children were still filing into the building at the time. Westman from outside was shooting through the windows dozens of rounds, according to the police, from 3 different guns. And inside, children were being bundled under church pews to try to protect them from the gunfire. Patrick Scallon lives half a block away from the church and ran towards the gunfire, finding 3 wounded children trying to flee the building.
I think it was a girl with a gunshot wound in the head that said, "Why does this happen? Why did this happen today?" You can't answer that question. You know?
What did you tell her?
I just said, "Don't worry about that now. Let's just get you better. Just stay calm." And then she'd go back to where my mom and dad, and I just tried to keep calm.
Police say 2 children were killed as they sat in their pews. Another 14 were wounded, aged between 6 and 15, along with 3 parishioners in their 80s. Police have been searching several residential properties linked to the perpetrator, who died, say police, at the scene from a self-inflicted gun wound. They have identified the attacker as 23-year-old Robin Westman, a former student at the school who legally changed their name from Robert in 2020. Detectives are reviewing a social media video timed to come out with the shooting, in which the assailant describes being depressed, wanting to carry out an attack, showing off guns and ammunition alongside racist, anti-Semitic and violent messages.
We, as a community, have a responsibility to make sure that no child, no parent, no teacher ever has to experience what we've experienced today, ever again. We lost 2 angels today.
Last night, vigils took place as a city honoured its dead and prayed for the wounded. President Trump ordered flags at half-mast, while a raft of politicians have again said never again when it comes to mass gun crime. But one local official said answers must come through more than thoughts and prayers for the children targeted while they were already at prayer. Tom Bateman, BBC News, Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Well, the Minnesota Democratic Congresswoman Betty McCollum spoke to BBC News and blamed existing gun laws for many of the problems facing the US in terms of these types of shootings.
These weapons used to hunt and target human beings shouldn't be readily available the way that they are. And Minnesota has some good gun laws, but federally we have to have better gun laws. When I was first elected to Congress, we had a ban against assault weapons. Now, assault weapons are prolific around the United States and being used in so many of these tragedies, like what happened today. Today it was at a school. Today it was at a church. There were parishioners there, teachers, parents, very young children. This was just a heinous, cruel act, and it's really struck our community. You know, let's pray for the families, but Congress needs to stop praying to get a solution. Congress has the solutions in front of them. We need to pass common sense gun laws. We can still have people hunting and fishing, and have rights to have weapons for that. But, a person who just goes out and buys a shotgun, a rifle, and a pistol and doesn't need it for self-defense, isn't a licensed hunter. It's ridiculous to have that kind of access to those weapons. And the police think there might even be more that this person would have had access to.
Minnesota Democratic Congresswoman Betty McCollum speaking to the BBC.